Live and alive, along with Bipster, Kyle Jackson. I'm Rob Hinckley. No nickname for me, sorry. Mike McGuire joining us tonight, also here on Go Fast, and we got a lot to cover. We're going to talk about the 100 plus years of racing at the Mississippi Valley Fairgrounds, Davenport Speedway, whatever you want to call it, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So we're glad that Mike's with us, and we had a great weekend of racing, great week. And we'll get into all that. Also, we'll start off the show like we do each and every week, a recap for Team Dunright. Along with Dish and all the Google help sponsor Team Roberts, Ken Roberts Racing, and Jeremiah Hurst, Garrett Alberson. And wow, can you say back to back, Kyle?
Yeah.
Man, what a weekend they had. They finished 1-2 down at Farmer City, Illinois in the super late models. Jeremiah Hurst winning the feature with Garrett second. And they go up to Sycamore Speedway the very next night, do the exact same thing. Finish 1-2 by half a car length. And I even read there was a little rubbing going on between the two.
A little bit of side panel there, but it's really great. We've been watching them. When the season started off, they were kind of trying to figure out the new car and figure everything out, but it seems like this last month, and I know when we talked with Ken at East Moline, he talked about when they went down to Oklahoma, and they said we learned what we could have learned in 2 or 3 months in a weekend being down there and just what they were doing. So to see them really start to hit their stride as, kind of on this little bit of a break from MLRA as that comes back open, it's going to be fun to see what they're going to be able to do the rest as they finish out this season.
Yeah, they had great runs with the MLRA when they were around here, and then also Jeremiah going from 26th to 6th at the World of Outlaws race here recently, and got the Morton Building Hard Charger Award. So congratulations to Ken and Maya and Dude and the entire team over there at Roberts Motorsports. Tyler Soppe still in the top 15. Actually, he's 12th currently in the IMCA Northern Sport Mod points. And everybody that's ahead of him, we've seen just about, with the exception of a couple. Cody Thompson, the current national point leader. But ahead of him, Tony Olson, Jarrett Franzen, Brayton Carter, Gage Neal, and then Tyler coming in at number 12. But he's currently third in the Iowa State points. Had some good runs over the weekend as well. And a new car. It's got earlier in the week, the Storm. But the racing family really came together, at least offering to help others. Brett Severson was talking about how many people just asked him just asked if he needed help because he was out of power and for several days. And then also the racing family, they made it to the track, and they helped take the mind off of that storm. One of the other takeaways I had, the Holland with Hoker Trucking East Series making 3 stops. Well, 2 of them at Davenport, 1 at East Moline. They had not 1 but 2 40-lap features without a caution.
Yeah,
which was amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty. I was pretty excited about that, watching that at East Moline. I know Doug said, Doug Hack, the flagman, said he would have liked a caution just to kind of bunch them all back up, because near the end it was tough. I don't want to even think about the scores on that one. Luckily they used transponders, but it's still they were everywhere. I'm sitting there filming it, going, at one point I'm like, crap, where'd the leader go? Like, I know he's here, I know he's out there, and I'm trying to find the number. There he is.
Yep. Ran into the same thing Saturday night with Bill Layton Jr. winning it at Davenport, and there were some good battles going on. And then I'm filming the battles, and then all of a sudden, here comes Jeff Ike, Mike. It's closing in. Jeff Ike, and who was right behind him? I can't remember. But anyway, those two guys were it may have been Gustin for that matter, but they were closing in on the 24 car there at the end of the race on Saturday.
Yeah. I was talking to a guy at work today about it, and I said, I think if there'd been 10 more laps, he says, it's always if there'd been 10 more laps.
Yes.
So, Jeff Ike won a ton of Deary Brothers races at Davenport, and this series took the place of the Deary Brothers series, so it was just natural that Ike would be in the mix.
Yeah.
And he did. He made a charge there at the end and almost caught the Nebraska driver. And I guess my last takeaway, taking a look and congratulations to the Welters and everybody up at Dubuque, Kevin Coates and all that. 17 hobby stocks last night at Dubuque.
Nice.
which is great. And Vinton was even running last night. And so, and you take a look, and it's the guys that have just been coming off and on. When Trackside had it last year, and the Wisconsin guys, but 17 hobby stocks at Dubuque last night. So I think that's a great milestone. And I heard it was a great race.
Yeah. Yeah, of everything we saw. Well, I haven't had a chance to watch the replay yet today, but definitely going to be checking that on DoneRight.tv.
Great. And let's see. Oh, Nick Jensen. Hey, buddy. How are you? And hi, D-Dub. Derek Wilson joining us as well.
How's it going, Derek? I was might be stopping out your place on the way home. It's almost on the way home, and there's always a good time. So
right.
Usually we get the update of what's going on with his car. I know he's got kind of a rough season this year with a couple of bad wrecks kind of back to back, but hopefully see him back on the track pretty soon.
Okay. A couple thoughts from the weekend from you, Mike.
Well, my first one is kind of in the race, kind of not. Ken Schrader being at Davenport.
Absolutely.
If you don't love Ken Schrader, you don't love dirt track racing, period. And when he won that heat race, making a last lap pass, coming out of turn number 4, and I looked up and you could see people applauding. And you don't see that type of emotion out of a lot of fans for a heat race. And here it was, and they're going crazy for Ken Schrader. So I thought that was my first thing. That really, and then like you said with the Duratio last week, you could tell that some people were a little bit more on edge than what they normally are at the racetrack, and some tempers flared and stuff. But like you said, it's great to have them back at the racetrack. Get things back to a normal pace.
Definitely, no doubt about it. And I do have one last takeaway. And last night, announcing over at East Moline, our buddy Jesse McGee came down, and of course Jesse raced for years, and then he became a photographer. And he just came down and he just had a shopping bag. He said, "You know what? I got some photos that people can have them. I'm going to put them down on a picnic table down there below." And people can just come have them. So we announced it a couple times, and some of them were gone, and then Bibster and I started shuffling through them at the end, and we came up with one, and I'm going to walk it up here because I want everybody to see it. And it's our buddy Doug Hack holding not one but 2 checkered flags here.
Oh yeah.
How about that hair?
Oh yeah.
But we told him last night after the races at East Moline, I'm going to find one because we got Doug Hack and curly hair. So, but yeah, that was great. And not all those photos got picked up, so I'll keep bringing them back and putting them on the picnic table right down there by Nick Jensen's photo booth, and come down and pick them up. It's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of fun last night to kind of go through some of them. We were looking at some of the years. It was like, mid 90s. And the one I know I picked up, there was a car from a sprint car race. And I go, what's funny about sprint cars is this could look like a car today. The other ones have been modifieds, look kind of similar. I mean, late models, they've gone through so many changes. But I'm like, then you see a sprint car and you're like, yep, that's a sprint car.
Right. Well, even looking at the modifieds, this one right here looks like an old street stock or something from East Moline. I mean,
it could be a hobby stock.
It could be a hobby stock.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely, it could. Our next bit, racer of the week. Anybody have any thoughts on a racer of the week?
I usually prepare myself, and I totally forgot to prepare myself for this on the way. Come back to me.
Yeah, we can do that. Well, I'll tell you who mine was, and it was a great interview, and it was funny. I was just talking about him, giving a little bit of history last night at the Bull Ring, and in 1982 he was in the Twin 50s that they ran there. Roger Long and Ron Schreiner ended up winning, but Jim Sandusky was the leader and well on his way, and his engine exploded in that Twin 50 in 1982 in a late model. Won the modified feature last night. So Jim Sandusky, the shoe is my racer of the week. Anybody else have a thought?
I have to go with Bill Layton myself. I think he put on a heck of a show Saturday night.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
He did. The Nebraska driver, and I think he led all 40 laps, didn't he?
Yeah. Yep. Well, he might not have led the first lap.
That's right.
He pretty much led everything else.
That was a good drive, and then to hold off because he had some guys coming, and he held them off and manipulated around lap traffic. So good choice there, Bill Layton, for driver of the week.
I'm gonna go with it. It was from the Mud Bugs. I wasn't at him on Saturday, but Jim Burton got back on. He actually ran in the 300-foot deep pit, and it's been a few years for him to run Grandpa's Toy. So it's kind of sad that I missed it, but it was kind of exciting to see him and one of his grandkids, Kyle Ernst, went back to back on that one.
Brett Severson learned last night Doug Hack is a bad influence on him. You're just now learning that, Brett. Come on. We had a good time after the race.
I will say, I think my favorite, we love all the tracks to go to, but it's that Sunday night, East Moline, like we get everything tore down. The week, your weekend of racing's over. And those hangout sessions, I always am writing a check that I'm mad at myself by the time I pull back into Fulton. Because I'll be like, oh, like race got over early. It was like, we left there at like 11:15 last night. And I'm like, oh, man, I got an hour drive home. What am I doing? Could have been home before 10.
Nick Jensen chimes in, Brandon Shepard, driver of the week. You can't argue with that, man. He won the, I think he won the race at, no, I think Shirley won it at Fairbury, but he won his first Herald and Review 100 down at Macon. And then I think he finished off the week winning down in Lincoln, Illinois last night, too, on the Summer Nationals. And so good choice there, Nick Jensen. And our last thing that we kind of do before we'll turn over and talk to Mike, our techno moment this week. And so our technology, I mean, we talk about it all the time, and mostly people just want to turn it on. They want to watch the race, but we're trying to make that experience better and better for them every week, aren't we, Kyle?
Yes, that is our goal. Our goal is always moving forward. We say, even if something goes wrong, we want to adapt and go forward. And I think we learned last night was that amplifiers get hot.
Oh, man.
Now, you guys watched on the live stream were lucky because our system, our side still worked, but the fans in the stands had about 4 heat races as we were trying to cool that thing off at Chernobyl-like temperatures. And I felt bad because, and if you guys don't know, it used to be at East Moline, Rob and I were sitting in the same row. I would be here, Rob would be next to me announcing. Well, now we've gone back to the traditional way where Rob's down on we call it the tower, but it's actually right in front. I mean, but it's the tower. And so I hear something happen. I hear him say, check. And that's not a bad omen. I don't know what is.
But it ended up being a good race. And a couple more I can think of just this year. We went to Oskaloosa one week, Kelly and I, and they had to hold up a race because there was a rabbit running around on the racetrack. I've probably seen a ton of rabbits in the past.
Yeah, and it's not the place you want roadkill, for sure. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've been to a race where we've had... Well, at the Mud Bogs, we always have Bill Gussie's latest dog is named 5 because the last one was named 4. So sometimes when I'm running the timing lights, I got to make sure 5 isn't running near the end of the track because 5 follows Bill around, and if Bill's out doing something, 5 will be out there, and I'm always like, oh, wait, hold on, 5's trying to run to the bog real quick. I got to wait because I can't send this driver down there with a dog halfway through it. But usually when we get to the fast ones, 5 knows where to go. But it's always funny because people will ask him, especially little kids, what's your dog's name? And it goes, 5. Why is it named 5? The last one was named 4.
No, not 5-1. What's that one dog named? 5? No, the 1.
that becomes a who's on first situation.
That's right. Hey, share your favorite animal story at a racetrack on our Facebook page too. We'll try to get to those as the show progresses. So I'll read my mind. I'll give you another clue. Actually, you're going to get it. It's not going to be hard after a while. But number 1 was dominating driver. Number 2. 1 year after 11 feature wins at Davenport, the next year he only had 1.
Oh.
So 1 year after 11 feature wins at Davenport, the next year he only had 1. And of course, we're not gonna answer it, but answer on our Facebook page if you're the first one that comes up with it. You have a Chance Houston T-shirt waiting for you. And now we get to bring in. What we've been waiting for, and we've been talking with Mike a couple weeks on this to get it arranged. And we're glad that you're with us again, Mike McGuire. But Davenport Speedway, looking at, and I read back in 1900, 1904, somewhere in there, they had a exhibition race, a 2-car exhibition race on the Big Mile track, and now it's evolved to where we're at now. So what all happened in between?
Well, the actual first race was in 1901, and most of them were local cars, and a gentleman named William Stewart from Geneseo won that race. The 1904 was professional racers that came in on a Labor Day weekend to run. So that's where that came from. But the mile track was originally a horse track. And, there was, I want to say, 7 or 8 full-time big race shows that were run there. Most of them were sanctioned by AAA back then. And then the horse track started to go away towards the 1916, 1970, about the time of World War I. And then in 1920, they built the fairgrounds as it is now. The first race was held August 21st, hint, hint, 1920, and it was a fair race, and it was sanctioned by IMCA, the International Motor Contest Association, which sanctions 3 of the weekly classes now at Davenport. So that's a big history moment there. You don't see racetracks that last for 100 years. You don't see sanctioning bodies that last for 100 years, and we got both this Friday.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So this is a big anniversary coming up, and we just found out last weekend that this Friday is also the Ronnie Whedon Memorial. It's back at the Davenport Speedway. The very first one was there, I'll say 1996, and it was won by Ronnie's stepson, Jerry Connors. So, talk about stuff going full circle. It's great, and I hope everyone shows up this Friday just to make it a great event. We've got some things planned, but I can't talk about them because things aren't finalized yet.
That's right. Couple guesses. Ryan Walker guessed Tony Olson. No, that's incorrect, Ryan. But a good guess. And Jenny Smith guessed Bob Dominacki. Nope, not yet. So reading my mind, he's a dominating driver. 1 year after 11 feature wins at Davenport, he had only 1 at Davenport. The year he had 1, here's the next clue. The year he had 1, drivers like Sanger, Zwartzinger, Hansen, Dake all had feature wins at Davenport. Brian, nice guess, Justin Kai. I think I probably just gave it away. So anyway, he was a dominating driver, but 1 year after 11 feature wins at Davenport, he only had 1 because the year he had 1, Cedar Rapids did not run on Friday nights. So drivers like Ed Sanger, Bill Zwartzinger, Kurt Hansen, Daryl Dake all came down, ran Davenport on a regular basis. Roger Dolan, all those guys all had feature wins at Davenport that year. So guess on the Facebook page, we have a Chance Houston T-shirt for you. So, and I do know one thing because he posted it on his website. The Nostalgic Stock Car Racing Club is going to be there Friday night.
Didn't get relayed to me.
or posted it on his Facebook page, not website. But but Mark Clays posted it, and Jeff Walker got that deal going and put it together. And so Mark Clays' group, Nostalgia Stock Car Racing Club, will be at Davenport Friday night. So that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah. Which car is Jeff Walker bringing, though? Is he bringing the 88 John Gerber Charger? Or is he bringing the 00 Ronnie Whedon Camaro?
I can't remember because he talked to me last night about it too at the race, and now I can't remember which one he said. Because he was, I think he's bringing the 88 because he said he still has to wash it, but because he hasn't washed it from the East Moline one when it was the dream story. The first time the car was ever on the track, it wins. But don't quote me on that because we were talking near intermission, and I can't remember if he said he was bringing that one or if he ran the Ronnie Wheaton one at the West Liberty race they were at. I can't remember.
He ran the Charger at the first one.
I think Moline.
At East Moline and won.
At West Liberty, he ran the Charger.
As well. Okay.
He brought it out, ran I think a lap in the heat race and pulled in. But
well, that's all he was going to do at East Moline too, and then he just kept making ground. He told me, he's like, I wasn't planning on being out there the whole time. The car was too nice.
That is a pretty race car.
It is, and in fact, when they had it at East Moline, that was the first night out too. He's like, I'm just going to go out, and then it was dominant that night at East Moline. Ryan Walker guessed Gary Webb. No, that's not correct. But you're getting warmer, sort of. Looking forward to the Ron Whedon Memorial. In fact, I got a T-shirt. I should have written down all the winners. You probably have that.
I have, I think, all but the first 3 on my computer. No, the last 3. For some reason, and I go back to newspapers.com and research all this stuff, but the last 3 weren't listed in the Moline Dispatch, and I can't figure out why. But I need to get a hold of somebody to get those last 3 winners.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep, man. Oh, somebody got it, but yep. Yep. Yeah, Brett Severson is correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know what he's guessing here, but if it's as far as Jeff Walker driving the 00 or the 88, we'll see. I hope he brings the 00, but
Yes.
but the 88 Gerber look like that.
Since it's the Weed Memorial, I'd like to see him bring both.
Yeah.
There you go.
We can find somebody to fit in the other car.
I can fit. I
There
can
you
fit.
go.
I'll get in there and hold on for dear life and go around. But it'd be my first time in a race car since I can't even tell you how long it is. But yeah, there's been so much. I mean, some of the promoters over the years. I mean, I know the first
Brian.
in 1969. Brian got it. Brian Neal got it. Ronnie Whedon is correct. So, Brian Neal, you read my mind. Ronnie Whedon was a dominating driver at Davenport Speedway. And that one year, in fact, Cedar Rapids moved, and I don't know who was promoting. It was before Al Frieden's days, but he moved, and it was in between Al Frieden and Homer Melton somewhere. But they moved to Saturday nights. And so, and Hawkeye Downs usually ran Friday nights. They like they do now on pavement. They did back when it was dirt. But Ronnie Whedon won the track championship, and then the very next year, Ed Sanger, Bill Zwanzinger, Kurt Hansen, Roger Dolan, Darrell Dake, Don Hoffman, all the Waterloo guys, Red Drawley, all those guys came down to Davenport on a regular basis. They were there every Friday night, and Ronnie Whedon, dominant. The year before, had just one feature win that season, more than 500 feature wins in his career. So, yep, Ronnie Whedon is the answer to read my mind today. So, but I think in 1969 or 68 Davenport Speedway, I believe Homer Melton was the promoter then, but I could be wrong. But but I know he was in that era. But a lot of great promoters at Davenport over the years.
Yeah. Homer actually had two times he was the promoter. He was there for like 10 years once when he was doing the Davenport, Cedar Rapids, Des Moines.
Des Moines, yeah.
I think it was the Mid-Continent. I'm not sure.
Right.
And then he went away for a few years, and Bill Schwader had it for 1 year or 2 years. And then someone else came in and was running. I think they were mixing midgets and stock car races. And then Homer came back and ran it for a few more years after that. And then in the 80s, there really weren't very many weekly years.
There wasn't.
There was a lot of specials and a lot of midget races. And then they finally, it was the mid 90s. Al Frieden came in and tried to do a Wednesday night show that kind of. And then the late 90s, Bob Wagner and Dirt Track Racing came in, and then Bob had it for like 20 years, 20 or 21 years before he left. And then Bill Schwader took it back over again. You see a pattern here?
Yeah.
And then he left halfway through the season, then Brendan Ricky Kai took it over, and they have it now.
Back when Bill Schwader had it the first time, in fact, I saw a photo here recently of this. His crew or his employees wore baby blue sport coats and ties. The officials, yeah.
What?
Yeah. Opening night,
Oh.
all the officials came out in tuxedos.
Yep. And then on a weekly basis, they had the baby blue sport coats and ties on, and that's how they worked the races that year.
Wow, that's Thank God we're not in that era, because I'm still. I like to show up in a pair of bibs and a T-shirt.
Talking about bibs, John Gerber, Jim Gerber's dad.
Mm-hmm.
He and a couple other people actually owned the fairgrounds for a few years. This was back probably the late 40s, early 50s.
Wow.
And then they sold it back to the county. But John started out as a racer, car owner, and when his wife said, "I'm tired of going all over the place," and then he became a promoter. And as a racer, he and Maynard Clark used to go around. They wore bib overalls. They were the two farm boys from Iowa, even though Maynard was from Milan, Illinois. And every once in a while, they'd have a baby pig going around with him in the pit area.
there's an animal story.
So in the 70s, they had a picture taken out at the fairgrounds by the half-mile flag stand, and here's John, and they've got a pig, and somebody's wearing bib overalls, and it's a great picture if anybody has ever seen it.
We got to track that down.
Well, and I know over the years there's been, half mile, quarter mile, that kind of thing. And I remember one year, and I was just a kid because living over 35th and Division area in Davenport, and on Wednesday nights they were running on the half mile, and one of the local radio stations had a pre-race show on, and then I heard the cars, and it just killed me because I wasn't there. So they ran the half mile on Wednesday nights a few times.
I'll really blow your mind. WOC TV, this was probably 48, 49, actually did a live pre-race show from the fairgrounds before the races.
Wow.
How it's all come
Trying
around.
to get them to come and show up for one race now is a twist the arm type of thing.
Yeah.
It's more than that. It's like hold a gun to the head type thing. So thank God for Done Right TV.
Yeah, I mean that's what's it's just kind of funny because we think you're like, even then it was tough. I mean, obviously then it was because there wasn't much TV anywhere, but now there's TVs everywhere, and we're like, can we just get something here? We got that's another.
That's actually where I started at. 1987.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been away from racing for a while, and I had started videotaping races and putting them on local cable and public access channel for years. And then after that got to be a little expensive, and one night I was out at Bluegrass videotaping, and Vern Schumann comes up and he says, "You're here every week." He says, "You making any money at this?" And I said, "Not much." He says, "Come down and be the pit steward." So I went from pit steward to school. And then a couple years ago when Bob Wagner wanted to switch who was videotaping for us, he said, "Mike, get up there and videotape." So I went full circle there too.
You went all the way back. That's funny.
Hey, 1953, NASCAR comes to Davenport Speedway.
The first Grand National race, which was the Cup Series back then, I believe it was August 4th, I want to say, maybe August 8th. There was only like 11 drivers that showed up. They were on a Midwest swing. And if I remember right, Buck Baker set the fast time. Herb Thomas won the race. And Buck Baker finished second, and Lee Petty finished third.
There's some names.
All three are in the Hall of Fame now.
Right. And Herb Thomas, and of course the famous Hudson Hornet.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also supposed to be a convertible race a couple of years later there. And they couldn't get the portable lighting. They wanted to do it at night, and they couldn't get the portable lighting arranged, so NASCAR canceled it.
Wow. do it at night back in the 50s. That's crazy. So why with the half mile and the quarter mile and that kind of thing? What's the big draw to the quarter mile nowadays, you think?
The competition. The side-by-side. There was a while back there, 80s, 90s, where if you went and saw a half-mile show, after about 10 laps, it was a freight train. And whether it's the narrowness of the track, not enough banking or whatever, and people just weren't enthused with the half-mile anymore. At the races I've been to at West Liberty with Dirt Track Racing this year, we're not getting big car counts or crowds, but the racing's been terrific. I mean, Andy Eckrich and Brian Harris put on a show a couple weeks ago. I mean, it was just lap after lap. They were either side by side or nose to tail or whatever. And then towards the end, Tyler Bruning comes from the back of the pack, and he's in there, and it's a three-car mix. So, yeah, I still see the half mile. I'd like to see more half-mile races, but the competition in the quarter is what drives everybody.
I have to go back to about I'm thinking it was 1981. I think Gary Oliver was the head of the deal, but put on that 3-race thing during the summer, and this is before Lucas Oil and World of Outlaws and all that. There were some darn good shows before all these sanctioning bodies.
Was that
that was
WZZC
101? Yes,
with Rodney Combs,
yep, right.
Tommy Helfrich, and everybody.
Got rained out on Saturday. They were supposed to qualify and run heats on Saturday. Ran everything on Sunday, and pulling the cars off and having to rewater and absolutely packed grandstand. And Rodney Combs just left them and went on for the win. So, but when you got guys like Combs and I think Tommy Helfrich got second, and Don Hoffman was third, and you got guys like that piling in from all over the place. So those were great races back then.
Yeah, I'd also like to see more World of Outlaws sprint car shows. Mm-hmm. We had a night, I want to say late 90s or so. It was 95 degrees in the shade. The grandstand was 2/3 of the way full. There was a delay in the program. Nobody was booing. Nobody got up and left. And everyone's just sitting there waiting because they want to see Steve Kinzer and Danny Lasowski and all these other guys out there on the track. And so, yeah, I'd like to see, a couple more good sprint car shows there. Or, once a year maybe. But, man, are they expensive to put on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is big-time money. Well, that race back in 1981, Rodney Combs won here, and then he went up and won the Miller 100 at Cedar Rapids on Tuesday, and then he won one other race in Iowa, just that 3-race swing. But when you're talking 6,000 people here, and they're saying 7,700 people to watch the race on the half mile at Cedar Rapids, that he also won. And then I think the other one was in Des Moines, and 8,000 people. That's one that the people were looking for some good racing, and you never knew who was going to show up.
Yeah, back probably a few years before that, when USAC still had a dirt stock car series, dirt late model, I should say, stock car series. They ran, I think it was Knoxville, Davenport, Cedar Rapids, and maybe Oskaloosa. It was a firecracker jamboree. They actually did it 2 years in a row, I think. And they had some great cars show up. I think Verlin Eaker back then was the man in the dirt tracks, though.
Yeah. 1980, I think it was 85, 86, and 87s when USAC ran the late models, and Billy Moyer, I think, won the championship all 3 years or something like that. But, yeah, that was a great race that they had at Davenport, 4th of July, and fireworks ablazing and everything in the background. And so that was a neat deal. I remember that because the year before they ran, they didn't go to Davenport, but they ran Cedar Rapids and 2 other tracks. And then the next year they come to I think like Davenport, Oskaloosa, and Des Moines or something like that. So and then USAC said, well, that's not our said that's not our crowd. What do you mean it's not your crowd?
Yeah,
that wasn't their crowd. IndyCar ended up not being their crowd.
Yeah, everything was So at a certain point, you realize, oh wait, there's all the things on wheels that weren't crap.
No doubt about it. Yeah, Brett Severson says the Water Truck 100. I remember that race. Yeah, 1981. And finally, they put some calcium chloride down with the water, and it finally got it to seal a little bit. And then they ran the race. And then they came back, ran another half-mile race later that season. I think the third one finally just got rained out completely, but and Helfrich won, and Combs was in the house, and everybody, well, here another Rodney Combs snoozer, but Helfrich beat Combs in that second one. But when you got a Helfrich and a Combs and a Don Hobbs from Indiana and Jim Curry from Indiana, Paul Schaefer, and that kind of thing, and I see Paul Schaefer's sons racing now. But Paul Schaefer left late models and went to he ran late models at Davenport one week, sold all of his stuff, and the next week was at Davenport in a monster truck.
What a time!
Went into monster truck racing. But and that's something else that and I know a lot of people know this, and like you said, Mike, before the fairgrounds was even built, it was just a racetrack, and it was a mile. So they made it a horse track, and I just wonder back there right around 1900 how they turned a horse track into a car track.
Well, you got to remember the cars went a lot slower back then.
Yeah, that's true.
There was actually a couple times where a car raced an airplane on the mile track. One time I think it was Barney Oldfield, and the other time was Pete Peterson, who is a familiar name here locally.
Yep.
He was also an alderman here in the city of Davenport back in the day. So, and when Pete Peterson won, he claimed that the guy in the airplane had cheated and was cutting the corners, even though he won the race.
They should have put up the big pylons like they have now for airplane race. Well, and I remember one year they ran, and I don't know, I can't. I think it was the year that Schwader was promoting the first time. That somebody came up with the bright idea to run a late model motorcycle and a snowmobile in a drag race. And of course, you know, and I felt so sorry for Wheaton because Ronnie Wheaton was the stock car, and I felt so sorry for him because of course he's going through the gears.
Yeah.
And the motorcycle was going through the gears, and snowmobile was gone.
Yeah.
Snowmobile just walked away with that one. But they lined him up on right at turn 4, I think, of the quarter mile, and it was all different back then. There were, you know, the quarter mile now comes kind of down into the half mile, and it wasn't like that then. But they lined him up right there on turn 4 of the quarter mile, and they drag raced them down the front stretch of the quarter mile. And again, I felt so sorry for I can't remember who was driving the motorcycle, but Whedon was in as a late model, and then whoever was on the snowmobile was gone. He just didn't have to worry about that gear shifting stuff. What are some of the other things that come to your mind when we think Davenport Speedway?
Well, this goes back to post-World War II. I haven't found the details yet, but someone said the day after the Defense Department ban on motorsports was lifted, there were people out there racing, but it wasn't an official race. So I haven't found the details on that one yet. But some of the names have gotten lost over the years. There was a fire at the fairgrounds in the office in 1951, 52, I'm thinking. And a lot of the old records of laps and time trials and stuff like that were lost. And so I've been digging through old newspaper on the internet and trying to find some of that back. But Danny Cladis is a name that a lot of people don't know. And Danny won, in 1947, he won 15 features at the Davenport Speedway.
Wow.
Driving a midget. And he lived up in Chicago. He worked, I think, for one of the big aircraft engine builders. And he'd come down every weekend, and he'd run here, or he'd run 1 or 2 tracks over the weekend, go back to Chicago, come back the next weekend. And he was an amazing race car driver. So,
Good.
There's Red Hoyle and Dick Ritchie and some of the other guys out of Cedar Rapids that he'd run against all the time. But Danny Cladis was the deal back then.
Well, and a guy that probably ran a few. He may have been racing back then by that time, and just celebrated a birthday, Mel Kenyon.
Yeah, Mel, his first win, and I'm not going to say it's his only win, but it was his first win at the Davenport Speedway, was in a stock car. It was not in a midget.
Well, really?
He had an old coupe with the number 61 on it, and that was his first win at Davenport.
Excellent. And of course, originally from Davenport, now, of course, IndyCar, and he still works with his brother building midgets over in Lebanon, Indiana.
God bless him. He's, I think, 87 now.
87, yep. And his brother Don still does a great job with the midget. And they have they were really the ones that were instrumental in starting the D2 midget program for USAC, and of course that's what we just saw at East Moline a couple of weeks ago. Was it was a USAC D2 series, the IMRA, and so the first thing that came to my mind was Mel and Don Kenyon doing that. But saw them a lot at Davenport over the years.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that started their careers just because, like you said, lived near the fairgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Gary Webb.
Yep.
Lived near the fairgrounds.
Yes, he did.
Holy Frank lived right behind the fairgrounds. For me, when I was a little kid, my real first memory, I mean, my mom and dad took me to Daytona when I was like 6.
Wow.
So I got to see the Daytona 500. But the local race that I remember the most, my mom pulled me out of school on a Friday afternoon. We lived in DeWitt. We walked to the bus station, took the bus into town. My dad worked here in Davenport. He picked us up. We went to the stock car races. I think that was the night that Ronnie Whedon finished a race on 3 tires. And he was either first or second in the feature.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my memories go back a long time. I used to, when we couldn't come down here, I'd go sit on the corner on Highway 61 in DeWitt, and watch people like John Connolly and some of the other ones from up north come by and wave at them with their cars because everybody had open trailers.
Open trailers, yep. Yeah, whoever invented enclosed trailers ought to be shot. I know they're more secure and all that, but I shared a post over the weekend. Somebody had their truck, their enclosed trailer that had all the race car and the tools in it stolen. I think Georgia or someplace.
Yeah,
but
it was that the one that was, the kid was like 12 years old?
it could have been, yeah.
And it was like stolen. They found it, burned to the ground.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, there's something cool about an open trailer, especially when it's a car that, like, you know, you see your normal, like the cars you would think you'd see on an open trailer, and then like last night we were watching some of these super late models that we weren't normally used to seeing. And I'm like pulling in, a couple of them pulled in on open trailers, and I'm like, I don't know, it's just kind of cool because you have to see what's in. You know, I've talked with racers before and on other things that run enclosed, and they always ask people, they'll always have people ask, oh, what's in there? You know, they open it up. I'm like, hey, if you have an open trailer, you don't have to open it up. They can just look and see.
It always puts a smile on my face when Gary Webb comes in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Race car.
For sure, and I know right where he lived because I did did a little traveling with him back in the '80s and that kind of thing, which was cool, and that's what it was back in the day. You know, they just had it in their garage, and I know some of them still do it, but it's nice to still see the old open trailers, and it reminds me of those days that you were talking about. Well, I know one guy, and boy, they're going back and forth on Facebook right now. But but Brett Severson, when he was in here, he talked about how he got involved. Was he and his family when he was a kid were at the old Bel Air Drive-In on a Friday night, heard the race cars, and he and his dad went over to the fence, peeked over the fence, and he said he was hooked from there. So I wonder how many people at the old Bel Air Drive-In got on Friday nights. They either got hooked on racing after that, or they were irritated because they couldn't hear them.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's
we're never going back to the Bel Air.
Yeah,
at least not on Friday.
Yeah, you think about that, the fact of, like, you know, where they're putting on a drive-in movie theater right next to a racetrack. You can't imagine now being like, yeah, let's just show a movie of, like, right off 3 and 4. I mean, obviously it's a little louder, I'm assuming now, than what they were then, but still, it's kind of a crazy concept that they would have been trying to pull off.
So when did we get into building houses and that kind of thing out there?
I believe it was real late 50s, early 60s. And, you build a house next to a racetrack, it's like building a house next to an airport.
Dope.
Come on.
Yeah.
You don't get to build there and then complain about the noise.
Mm-hmm.
But people do.
And it still goes on, and I remember back 70, 71, something like that. The curfew had been installed, even way back then. So 50 years of a curfew at Davenport.
Yeah.
We won't be celebrating that this weekend.
There's been a couple times I can remember where the police did show up and kindly asked us to stop doing what we were doing.
Yep.
They haven't done it lately though.
No.
But
with cell phones and text messages and stuff like that.
There's other ways to.
Well, and I know now, like today, Ricky and Brenda Kai and Sean Loader, the general manager of the fair and all that, they've built a relationship with the city, and so they kind of communicate that way. But I know last weekend kind of got hammered on it, and But yeah, I've been at the track back in the 70s and that kind of thing where the police pull right onto the racetrack and say, okay, you're done.
Yeah, thank goodness that kind of era is done. But it's kind of self-imposed. Back when Bob Wagner was running it every week, we were told we couldn't start a race after 10:30. And now you need to be done by 10:35, period.
Right.
Yeah, we've been a couple.
And you hate to do it when people come from out of town.
Yeah.
And this year, it's been people from out of town every week.
Yeah, especially those first couple, those first few. I remember that first race, and I remember we were live streaming it, and I'm messaging our guy back at our home base, and I'm like, well, we're 20 minutes past curfew, and we're starting our last race, and he's like, what's that mean? I'm like, it means we just made a lot of friends. That's why. Then the next week it was 4-hour show. It was with even more cars. They really got through it. But I remember just going, how's this work? All right.
Brad Canuti on Facebook talks about the Freeport Raceway. Great track Freeport was. And I worked there a couple years, and their downfall was a trailer park across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And then the track owner wanted to sell because he got a good deal, and I thought some industry or something went in there, but I could be wrong. But
Yeah, we've lost a lot. Freeport, Cedar Rapids is now owned by a private company.
Yeah.
It is leased back to the people that are running the racing program. We lost State Fairgrounds in Des Moines.
Yep.
They keep saying they're going to build a short track. No one's broke ground on it yet, though.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you got places, and last couple. Well, they didn't have the fair this year, but the last couple of years I've announced down at Knoxville, Illinois, and they used to be a regular track. I know Bobby Tolan ran that on Wednesday nights back in the 80s, and some of the other promoters also ran it on a weekly basis. But that one is dark, a big old half mile, I know.
Mm-hmm.
But so we've kind of gone through World War I, World War II as we get through the middle 50s and into the 60s and all that. What kept the racetrack going?
In part, I think it was Homer Milton bringing cars from Des Moines and Cedar Rapids every week. The Peoria guys would show up on a regular basis, the Strubies and Don
Herb Shannon.
Bolander and Herb Shannon and
Al Terrell,
Yep.
those guys.
and it was really fierce competition between a number of drivers. And back then, it was only two classes. You were either in the fun class or you were in the late models, and then after a while, there was sportsmen and late models. It's in one class, sportsmen, late models, and you see where this is going.
Yes.
And now we're up to about 4 or 5 classes at every track every week, and some 6 or 7. So, but yeah, I back then it was the competition. If you knew Don Hoffman was coming, if you knew Red Drosty was coming, or the Bolanders or the Struby, it was always a fierce battle every week. And being that Davenport was Friday night track, everyone had all week to get their cars ready. You knew everyone was going to be there, and it was usually a good time.
No doubt about it. Well, and I remember Brad Canuti says Freeport's now a cornfield.
Ugh.
That is hurt. And Cameron Fox, our good buddy, he chimes in, says Quincy is for sale now
Yeah, I saw
as
that.
well. I'll be darned.
Yeah.
And we had a couple Quincy cars at East Moline last night. So, but yeah, it's too bad that they get into that. So, what was the deal? I know the track set dormant for about. Somebody told me 10 years. I was gone. I left the area in 1986. And moved out west, and just moved back in 2018. I tried to keep up to date and that kind of thing. So what was the deal with the track sitting dormant during that period?
Lack of a good promoter, lack of a good show, houses too close, curfews. If promoters aren't making money and the word gets around that people aren't making money at Davenport, it's hard to get someone to come back in and invest money in it. There were a lot of, like I said, the Busch All-Star Tours started in 86. And Joe Kosiski, who was here over the weekend with his series, won the first 3 races. And then his brother Steve came in and won the next 8 or 9 in a row.
Man.
And it was only like 2 or 3 races a year that was there. So it was like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. It was just Kosiski. And then finally after that, the Busch All-Star Tour, Bob Hill came along, started winning some races. Ray Kuss Jr. started winning more races. I think Bob Dominacki won one. Bob Helm won one. So it kind of started to spread out as the series got a little bit older. But so yeah, the 80s, like I said, they started out with 1 week they'd run midgets, the next week they'd run stock cars. You're not going to get a consistent flow like that. And for a while there, East Moline was running Friday, Sunday.
Oh yeah, I
And they
remember.
were putting it there a lot of competition. Quad City Speedway back when they were running out there in Coal Valley by Interstate 280.
Mm-hmm.
They put up a lot of competition for Davenport. Davenport for a lot of years was failing to get cars. So and it's cyclical. You're gonna have up years and down years. Up years might last 5, 10, 15 years, and then down years might last 5, 10 years. But it's a fun history to look at. I've got, I want to say, 1,200 races logged into my computer as far as who won the features.
Wow.
Race nights or race dates, nights, whatever you want to call it, events. And and I'm still looking for more. I think there's about 10% out there that I haven't found yet.
Wow.
Well, I know. Looking back, in last year, they were trying between Nick McCrady's Trackside Promotions and Tony Izzo's Junior 16 Promotions trying to put a Summer Nationals race together real quick because they couldn't have it at LaSalle. They were going to have it at Davenport. It ended up getting rained out. But, you know, Summer Nationals have had a good history and a good following there. 4 races I think they've run, but it's something about the super late models when they come to town. The fans love it.
Oh, yeah. I think Bob Pierce won one. Billy Moyer won one.
I think Bloomquist and Brian Harris, I believe, won the other 2. Something like that. Yeah.
Well, Brian Harris pocketed $10,000. I can't remember if it was a Lucas race or World of Outlaws race. We ran on the quarter mile here. So
yeah, I believe that was a that could have been
mad. But
Oh yeah, they're not.
Yeah, that was World of Outlaws. I'm sorry. Yeah, Summer Nationals. You're right. Yeah, Pierce and I think Billy Drake may have won one and a couple others, but that's good stuff. And boy, the people around here love those super late models.
Yeah. On a half mile, they are a great show. Like this Saturday, I've got to work at West Liberty, the
SLMR.
Malvern Bank Super Late Model Racing Hoker Trucking East Series.
Yep. You don't have to call it Malvern Bank. It's just and I checked with Anthony last night, the announcer. It's the Holland with Hoker Trucking East Series of the SLMR. That's what it is.
They're going to be at West Liberty on Saturday, right. So if you like late models on the half mile, it should be a good show. I think modifieds were paying $1,000 to win too. So.
Yeah, that'll be a good show. Definitely West Liberty on Saturday. We gone through the years. I know when I first started going in 1968, you were talking about the lower amount of classes. There were 3 when I went. There were late models, and they called them novice back then, and the fun cars, and the fun cars were 6 cylinders back then.
Yeah,
a lot of them ran 6 cylinders.
I think novice class, you're probably talking like Dave Wheeler, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Racing back then.
Dick Unzel. I think Wayne Settle started out in the fun class or in the novice, but a lot of the older cars, the '57 Chevys and that kind of thing, and then the late models were still regular cars just built.
Chargers, Torinos.
Yep, Gerber had his Charger. Whedon had his Torino back then. I know Daryl Dake was driving a Torino, so it's just regular. They were stock cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a great time being racing. I don't care what anybody says.
Brad, good point. Talking about Freeport, by the way, corn does not grow great there. Might have some issues with oil and gas in the ground. Yeah, you might.
Just a smidge.
Yeah,
that's ethanol, right?
Yeah,
it's the rotation.
That's right. Well, hey, this has been a lot of fun. Any closing comments? Any closing notes?
Yeah, like I said, we're still working on getting the details set down for this Friday at Davenport. I hope everybody shows up. Check the Facebook page, the website, and we're trying to get something fun along with the Whedon Memorial and the 100 years and everything.
That'll be cool. Well, with my race pass nowadays, a couple people have said, hey, you need to do a show like Phil Roberts and Paul Libby did with Around the Track. But with my race pass, that's where I'd get my results anyway.
yeah. I was looking on there this morning too, but a pre-race show. Okay, but who's got the time?
Yeah,
you're talking to the preaching to the choir on that one.
Yeah, preaching to the choir. We tried to do a Facebook Live. We tried to do a pit walk, or it's not even a walk; it's a stroll now. Because I'm either in my car or in Kelly's golf cart when I do it, and so. Just try to give a little heads up on what's going on, but that even the media coverage has changed over the years, which is something.
Newspapers used to come every Friday night.
Right.
East Moline, they used to come every Sunday anymore.
Hey,
I think Farley still does. I've been at Farley, and there was the one race we were up there for that. There was a dude, and then I saw someone shared it. I was like, they got like a full article in their sports
Dubuque
section.
Herald.
I think
yeah,
so.
Dubuque does
Yeah.
also. Yep,
Yeah,
Dubuque
so-
did a great job when
I saw that. I was like,
we were up there with Trackside last year.
I was like, well, did you look at this?
And what local professional sports have they got to cover?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's and we've even said this summer, I think we've had the advantage of being that there's no other local sports going on. You can't go watch a hockey, can't go watch baseball. Let's go watch cars race. So that's helped, and hopefully we've made some fans out of that maybe haven't been able to. They've never been to the dirt track. I think my favorite line is when Hoffman talked about, Jacob Hoffman said before he got involved, he just thought it was guys in Monte Carlo smashing each other. Like that's what he thought stock car racing was, because he's like he never really went to it, And he goes like, oh, it's a whole. I'm like, yeah, there's a whole.
Now he's got 3,000 followers
Yeah, I
on
was gonna
his
say a bunch
Facebook
of followers,
page.
and he's going to 3 or 4 tracks a night, and so it's like to dive in like that. Go, oh, there's a lot more to this than what what they're thinking is. That's what I think is fun about the sport is there is so much involved, and you realize the passion that these racers have for it, and it has to be passion everywhere. Promoters have to be passionate about putting it on, because no one's making millions being a promoter. There's not I think somebody famously said it to one of the Petersons one night after East Moline. He said, there's not a line at the door to do this job. So promoters, it's like they're out there trying just to have a place to race. Racers want to be able to go. Their fans want to see it, so it's fun to be a part of that wheel as it goes.
Well, in a year that it's been just absolutely strange, it's been a bunch of fun reminiscing about Davenport. Thanks,
yeah.
Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime.
Thanks for being here, and sir, we're on our last lap, so
Yeah.
we'll throw the checker flag on this one. We're going to be busy this week again. Back to our regular 5 Davenport on Friday night. Lee County Speedway, the last drive for 5 qualifier is also Friday night, so Kelly will be down that way, and then he'll head over to 34 Raceway on Saturday. Bipster and I will be at East Moline on Sunday. Kelly will be at Dubuque also on Sunday.
Yes.
So our own drive for 5.
It is our drive for 5 weekend.
So check out Dunright.tv, and we appreciate you being along and check